My name is Sarah Miller. I'm 32 years old, and I'm a senior project coordinator at Viridian Tech, a company that designs enterprise software. I was sitting across from David Harrison, my boss, in his office. The air conditioning was humming, but I felt a cold knot forming in my stomach. David, usually so direct, was fidgeting with a pen. "Sarah," he began, his voice uncharacteristically soft, "I received a very concerning call. From your parents, Eleanor and Richard. They expressed significant worries about your mental well-being." He paused, looking at the papers on his desk, avoiding my eyes. "They said you've been under immense stress, working yourself to exhaustion, and that you're currently, and I'm quoting here, mentally unfit to handle your responsibilities." My face must have been a mask of shock, because he quickly added, "Of course, we value you, Sarah, but given the severity of their concerns, HR and I feel it's best you take a temporary leave. A wellness break." My breath caught in my throat. Mentally unfit? The words hung in the air, a poison dart aimed directly at my career, my reputation, everything I'd worked for. My parents. My own parents had done this. I felt a surge of white-hot rage, quickly suppressed by a chilling clarity. This wasn't concern, this was sabotage. And I knew, with a certainty that settled deep in my bones, that they were going to regret it. Every single word. To understand why my parents would do something so malicious, you need to know a bit about Eleanor and Richard Miller. They were, in their own minds, the architects of my life. From the moment I could walk, every choice, every aspiration, was met with their guidance. My mother, Eleanor, had a particular talent for passive-aggressive control, always framing her manipulations as "what's best for you, dear." My father, Richard, was her enabler, a quiet man who rarely challenged her, preferring to observe from the sidelines, occasionally nodding in agreement. I was their only child, and my decision to move 2 states away for college, and then to build a career in tech, had always been a source of subtle resentment. "Why can't you find a nice job closer to home, Sarah?" my mother would lament. "Your grandmother misses you terribly. We worry about you, all alone in that big city." My success at Viridian Tech, where I'd risen steadily through the ranks, seemed to fuel their anxieties rather than alleviate them. They saw my independence not as an achievement, but as a rejection. My job as a senior project coordinator involved managing complex software development cycles, coordinating teams across different departments, and ensuring projects met their deadlines and specifications. It required meticulous attention to detail, strong leadership, and an unflappable demeanor under pressure. I excelled at it. My most recent project, the Horizon Initiative, was a major overhaul of our client-facing portal, a high-stakes endeavor that could define the next quarter for Viridian. I was leading a team of 12, and we were just weeks away from launch. That detail mattered later. The day after David Harrison's office, I was officially placed on a mandatory wellness leave for 2 weeks. HR sent me a polite but firm email, citing concerns raised by family members regarding your capacity to perform your duties. It felt like a scarlet letter. I was removed from all my project channels, my access to the Horizon dashboard revoked. I spent the first day in a daze, alternating between tears of frustration and a simmering fury. How had my parents even gotten David's direct number? I had never given it to them. I tried calling my mother that evening. Her voice was syrupy sweet. "Oh, Sarah, darling. We've been so worried about you. You sounded so stressed last time we spoke. We just wanted to make sure you were taking care of yourself." "Mom," I said, my voice tight, "did you call David Harrison? My boss?" There was a beat of silence. "Well, dear, we were just so concerned. You know how much we love you. We just told him you needed a little break. You've been working too hard." "Did you tell him I was mentally unfit?" I asked, quoting his exact words. Another pause, longer this time. "Don't be dramatic, Sarah," she said, her tone hardening slightly. "We simply conveyed our worries. Any good employer would appreciate a concerned family looking out for their child." She quickly changed the subject, asking about my apartment and if I was eating properly. My father, when he got on the phone, simply echoed her sentiments, offering no further explanation or apology. The conversation ended with me feeling more confused and infuriated than before. They were masters of plausible deniability. What I didn't understand yet was the full extent of their calculation. A few days later, my Aunt Carol, my mother's sister, called me. Aunt Carol usually played the role of family gossip and my mother's confidant, but this time her voice held a tremor of genuine unease. "Sarah, I heard about your leave," she began, tentative. "Your mother told me she had to step in. She said you were having a complete meltdown over that big project and that she had to warn your employer before you ruined everything. She even said you were losing your grip and needed to be put in your place." Thought. My blood ran cold. She said that? Yes, dear. She was quite insistent. Said it was for your own good, of course. To save you from yourself. Aunt Carol quickly added, "I told her she was being too much, but you know Eleanor." She sounded genuinely uncomfortable, as if she knew she'd let something slip. This wasn't just concern. This was an active attempt to discredit and control me. They wanted to force me to fail, to prove they were right, to drag me back into their orbit. The mandatory wellness leave meant I had to meet with a company-approved counselor. I complied, but I also made an appointment with my own long-term therapist, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, whom I'd been seeing intermittently for stress management. During our session, I laid out everything: my parents' history of interference, their recent call to my boss, the mentally unfit accusation, and the impact on my career. Dr. Rodriguez listened intently, asking probing questions about my emotional state, my work performance, and my parents' patterns of behavior. She confirmed what I already knew: I was perfectly fit for work, albeit stressed by the situation. She offered to write a letter to HR, attesting to my mental stability and fitness for duty. This was the first concrete step in my counteroffensive. I also began to meticulously document every instance of my parents' interference over the years. I dug through old emails, found texts where they had subtly tried to dissuade me from job opportunities or relationships, and even unearthed a letter from my college days where my mother had suggested I change my major. It was a pattern of undermining, disguised as care. I printed out my last 5 performance reviews, all stellar, along with emails from David Harrison and other senior managers praising my contributions, especially to the Horizon project. I even had screenshots of the project dashboard showing my team's progress, all green lights and ahead of schedule before my forced leave. My parents, meanwhile, continued their charade. My mother sent me daily texts, checking in, suggesting I come home for a real rest. She even mailed me a small potted plant, a peace lily, with a note saying, "This needs constant care, just like you, darling." It was a familiar gesture. She always gave me plants that required specific, delicate attention, a subtle metaphor for her belief that I couldn't thrive without her guidance. The 2 weeks passed slowly, each day fueling my resolve. I realized their goal wasn't just a break for me, it was to damage my reputation enough that I'd lose my position, become dependent, and eventually return to their control. The mentally unfit label was the ultimate weapon, designed to make any of my subsequent complaints seem irrational. This wasn't about revenge in the sense of causing them physical harm or ruin, but about reclaiming my professional integrity and severing their power over my life. My revenge would be truth, boundaries, and undeniable success. On the day I was scheduled to return, I arrived at Viridian Tech early. I had an appointment with David Harrison and the head of HR, Ms. Evelyn Reed. I walked into the conference room, a folder clutched in my hand. David looked uncomfortable, Ms. Reed, professional and neutral. "Sarah, welcome back," Ms. Reed said, gesturing to a chair. "We'd like to discuss your return to work plan and the recommendations from the company counselor." I nodded, took a deep breath, and set my folder on the table. "Thank you, Ms. Reed. Before we discuss that, I have some information I believe you need to see." I started by presenting Dr. Rodriguez's letter, a clear, concise statement confirming my mental health and fitness for duty. As you can see, medically, there is no basis for the claims made about my mental state. Then, I laid out my performance reviews, one by one. These are my evaluations over the past 5 years. All exceed expectations. And here are emails from Mr. Harrison and other VPs commending my work, particularly on the Horizon project. I paused, letting them absorb the documents. Now, I continued, my voice steady, I want to address the source of these concerns. My parents, Eleanor and Richard Miller, contacted you and made false and damaging claims about my mental health. Specifically, they told Mr. Harrison I was mentally unfit to perform my duties. I looked directly at David. He shifted in his seat. This was not an act of concern, but a calculated attempt to sabotage my career and regain control over my life. I then opened the second section of my folder. I've documented a pattern of their manipulative behavior, stretching back years. Attempts to interfere with my education, my relationships, and previous job opportunities. This is not new for them. I showed them a few key examples: the college letter, a text message trying to dissuade me from taking a promotion, and a detailed timeline of their controlling actions. They resent my independence and have consistently tried to undermine my success. This latest incident was their most aggressive attempt to force me into a position of dependence. Ms. Reed was now leaning forward, her expression serious. David Harrison looked mortified. Sarah, I had no idea, he stammered. We took their call in good faith, as concerned parents. I understand that, I replied, but their actions have caused significant professional and personal distress. I was removed from a critical project, my reputation was called into question, and I was forced to undergo unnecessary counseling. I believe Viridian Tech needs to have a clear policy for handling unsubstantiated claims from external parties, especially when they are malicious in intent. I finished by stating my terms. I wanted a formal apology from the company for acting on false information, a guarantee that this incident would be expunged from my record, and my immediate reinstatement to the Horizon project with full authority. I also requested that my parents be permanently blocked from contacting anyone at Viridian Tech on my behalf. There was a long silence. Ms. Reed picked up one of my performance reviews, then the therapist's letter. Miss Miller, she said, her voice firm, we take these matters very seriously. Your documentation is thorough. We will be conducting an internal review of how this call was handled, and I assure you, appropriate action will be taken. David Harrison looked at me, a genuine apology in his eyes. Sarah, I am truly sorry. I should have questioned it more. You're one of our best. Of course, you're back on Horizon. Immediately. And with our full support. The aftermath was swift and profound. Within a week, I received a formal, written apology from HR, acknowledging the error in judgment and confirming that all negative notations related to my wellness leave had been removed from my file. My parents were indeed blocked from contacting Viridian. I plunged back into the Horizon project, working harder than ever, proving my competence not just to the company, but to myself. My parents, of course, were furious when they realized I had not only cleared my name but exposed their manipulative tactics to my employer. My mother called, her voice shaking with rage. How dare you, Sarah? We were only trying to help. You've humiliated us. My father, for once, was silent on the line. I calmly explained that their help had been sabotage, and that I would no longer tolerate their interference. I told them I loved them, but that my relationship with them would be on my terms, and that any further attempts to control or undermine me would result in no contact at all. I hung up before she could launch into another tirade. It wasn't a triumphant moment. It was painful. But it was necessary. The phone calls from them became less frequent, then stopped. Other family members, hearing whispers, were divided, but many of them had witnessed my parents' controlling ways over the years. Some reached out to me, offering quiet support. I still have that peace lily my mother sent. It sits on my desk now, in a simple ceramic pot. I don't fuss over it, I water it when it needs it, and it thrives. It reminds me that some things, when given the space and freedom to grow, will flourish on their own.